All right, today we're going to talk about a baseball player who was, honestly, more than just a pitcher. He was a force of nature, a guy who didn't just stand on the mound, he owned it. We're talking about the one and only, the legendary Bob Gibson.
When you think about the all-time great pitchers, your mind immediately goes to things like blazing speed, nasty curveballs, pinpoint control. And look, Gibson had all of that, for sure. But the thing that really set him apart, the thing that made hitters' knees buckle, it wasn't just what he could do with his arm.
Yeah, it was his presence. Just this aura of pure intimidation that could completely shift the balance of a game before he'd even thrown a single pitch. And that's really the story we're getting into today. How a stare could be just as devastating as a 100-mile-per-hour fastball.
So let's start right there, with the man on the mound. What was it exactly that built up this fearsome reputation?
Gibson's whole approach, it was basically psychological warfare. He used those high-velocity fastballs not just to get strikeouts, but to establish total and complete control of home plate. Famously, he refused to be friendly with anyone on the other team because he thought it would make him soft. And that fearless competitiveness meant he was never, ever afraid to pitch inside, crowding hitters and making them deeply uncomfortable. That batter's box, that was his territory. For him, this wasn't just a game, it was a battle. And man, he was at his absolute best when the pressure was cranked all the way up.
But of course, just being intimidating doesn't get you into the history books. You gotta back it up with results. And Gibson's resume, well, it's a monument to pure, unadulterated dominance.
Just look at this run he had through the 60s and into the 70s. This is a player at the absolute peak of his powers. Winning a World Series is the ultimate goal, right? He dragged the Cardinals there twice. And then the personal awards just started rolling in. The Cy Young for the best pitcher in the league. And in '68, something truly special happened. He was so good, he was named the league's most valuable player, over every single hitter. This wasn't just a flash in the pan. This was an entire era defined by one man's right arm.
And the full career, the whole picture, is even more impressive. I mean, playing for one team for 17 years? You just don't see that anymore. 9 times he was an All-Star, which tells you all you need to know about his consistency. Those 2 World Series rings and 2 Cy Young Awards, they just cement his status as a true champion. His peak was insane, but his entire career was Hall of Fame worthy, from the very beginning to the very end.
Now, we have to talk about 1968. It's a season so famous in baseball history that it has its own name, the Year of the Pitcher. And Bob Gibson, well, he was its king. What he pulled off that year is frankly almost unbelievable. Just look at that number, 1.12. Let that sink in for a minute. That's his ERA, his earned run average. It means that, on average, for every 9 innings he pitched, he gave up just a little over 1 single run for the entire season. In modern baseball, it's seen as one of the most unbreakable records in any sport. He was so ridiculously dominant that baseball literally changed the rules after the season. They lowered the pitcher's mound by 5 inches, which is about 13 centimeters, just to give the hitters a fighting chance again. Think about that.
And yeah, a performance like that gets noticed. He didn't just win the Cy Young Award for being the best pitcher, that was a given. He won the MVP award for the entire league. You have to understand how rare that is for a pitcher who only plays every few days. It proved his impact wasn't just great, it was the single most valuable contribution of any player in the game, period.
So, you've got a legendary career, a season that's literally one for the ages. What's left to do? Well, you etch that legacy in stone, and you take your place among the immortals in Cooperstown.
Here we go. Another number for you, 17. What do you think that one could possibly be?
17 strikeouts in a single World Series game. I mean, come on. On the biggest stage, under the brightest lights, Gibson delivered one of the most overpowering performances you could ever possibly imagine. And here's the crazy part. That record still stands today. All these decades, all these incredible pitchers who have come and gone, and none of them have been able to top what he did in that one game. So yeah, it was absolutely no surprise to anyone when, in 1981, he was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame on his very first try. It was the ultimate official stamp on a career built on fire, intimidation, and just unparalleled success. And his impact on the game didn't stop when he finally hung up his glove. He stayed in the game as a coach and a scout, passing on not just the mechanics, but that fierce, competitive fire that made him who he was, mentoring the next generation of players.
And this all brings us to one last really fascinating thought. The game has changed so much, right? Pitchers are managed so carefully now, with pitch counts and specialized relievers. The very idea of one guy starting over 30 games and pitching over 300 innings with that level of sheer dominance, it almost feels like it's from a different universe. So it leaves us with this really big question to chew on. In today's game, will we ever see a single pitcher dominate an entire season like Bob Gibson ever again?